Welcome back to Paranormal Experience. I'm Melissa.
I'm Mandy.
And I'm Kelly.
Today we have a very special episode because our friend Kelly is here with us, and she is on our paranormal team. She has tons of paranormal experience. We're really excited to have her here. Today we are also going to be talking about our own paranormal experiences, and I hope that you're as excited about it as I am. So who wants to go first?
Could let our guest go first.
Do you want to go first, Kelly?
Sure, I can go first.
I think everybody would like to hear from Kelly. We've never heard from Kelly before.
All right, well, hello everybody. I'm Kelly, and thanks ladies for having me. So I guess we're just talking about experiences we've had in the paranormal world or investigating as we do. I'll start off with one of my favorites. We were in Ohio State Reformatory. That's in Mansfield, Ohio. And we went as a team, large number of us.
And if you'll recall, me and Mandy did an episode on the Ohio State Reformatory. If you want to go back to it and listen and get the history, we love the Ohio State Reformatory.
Awesome. Good. So I won't have to go into the history. You guys already know that. So we did our little tour, and then we broke off into little groups and did our own investigations. I can tell you I would go back there anytime. A couple of the coolest things that stood out to me in the warden's apartment, we were up there walking around, and it was after dark, and they had explained how the warden's first in charge would walk around and make sure everything was okay, and he was very protective of women that came to visit. He always had a pipe that he was smoking. People had experiences with smelling smoke from his pipe. Later on that evening, we're walking around up there, and somebody said they saw a shadow in one of the rooms. So we went in there, and of course there was nothing there. We walked in the room, and we're trying to get something to interact with us, asking the typical questions. Is anybody here? We're just here to visit, that kind of thing. And suddenly, all I could smell was pipe cherry tobacco. It was very, very strong. And I was with one other person. And I'm like, do you smell that? And she's like, what? And she walked closer to me. And she's like, oh, my gosh. So we both smelled it because I didn't tell her what I was smelling until after. It was crazy because we knew what that was.
That would be so interesting. I've never had an experience like that.
Yeah.
Where I've actually smelled something. Have you?
No, I haven't.
I've heard of other people having them.
But I think that smell is such a distinctive smell. Right. There's no mistaking what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And clearly none of us were, smoking pipes.
Right. Right.
So
one time we went on an investigation and somebody was saying oh, it smells like perfume in the bathroom. And we were saying, well, it's because somebody sprayed perfume in the bathroom.
Exactly.
But pipe smoke, it's definitely very distinct.
And, and then it just kind of went away. So that was one of the first experiences we had there. That was pretty intense and pretty exciting, because I'd never, like you had said, smelled spirits.
Right.
I guess,
Disembodied smell.
Yeah. And then from there we went on to the cells. And if you've ever been there, there's like 3 stories of, cells.
It is so cool. I love it.
It is. But again, it's like you're way up there and it doesn't look like it's very safe. But
yeah, I had taken my family back and we did a daytime tour and my son would not actually go up on the second or the third level of cells.
Really?
Yeah.
During the daylight, I don't know if I would have. This was at dark, so you really couldn't see anything. But there's cell 13, and there's a young man that got some bad news and poured oil on himself and burned himself and ended up dying from, the injuries. We were doing an Estes method in there. Some of us were, and the rest of us were standing out on the catwalk. And again, one of the people in our group was like, hey, I think there's somebody in the cell over here. So she and I walked over to the cell, and of course I'm looking in there. I don't really see anything, but she's like, oh, he left. I'm like, all right. But we were standing there and we were probably, our heads were like 6 inches away because we're just kind of looking in there. And very clearly.
So just to clarify, you're with a couple of people and one of them is sensitive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Standing as a sensitive person, we were just like, oh my gosh, this is kind of cool. And very clearly between the two of us, there was this huge breath. Like, and I looked at her and she looked at me and I was like, that wasn't you. And she's like, nope. And I'm like, that wasn't me. It's like that where the hairs on the back of your neck stick up. So that was kind of cool too. But the piece de la resistance was, there were 5 of us in our group and we went up to the attic area and, we'd been in there earlier and a couple of people in our group. So we had a group of like 30 people to start with. Oh, somebody touched my hair or somebody, bumped me or whatever. And we're just like, okay, whatever. So we go in there. Now, just to kind of set the stage for anybody who hasn't been there, it's a very large, long room, no windows, only one door in and out. So once you go in, you have to go back out that way. There's no side doors.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And what area is this?
It's called the attic area, and it's off the
Oh,
cathedral.
right. I do remember. Yes, it is very long, and it is also very, I guess, run down, or the ceiling is kind of coming down. It could be very dangerous in there, to be honest.
Yeah, and when we had been there, they had put in like supports, like big beam supports. So like there were a couple of them throughout the room to hold everything up. But so we went in there and we turned out all the lights, and we had our chairs put in like a little semicircle, and we had our equipment set up from us to the back of the room. And so we're just sitting there in the dark, and we're just kind of talking, and we heard some shuffling from the back of the room. You know, it's like when somebody's like walking on like pebbles or cement or whatever. And we're like, oh, you know, you can come up here with us, or, you know, touch the equipment and let us know that you're here with us. And then it would get quiet. And a while later, we'd hear some more shuffling, and, you know, it's kind of in the back or off to the side. Again, we're in complete darkness. All we can see are some of the lights on of our equipment. And we're just sitting there, we're, you know, trying to engage. And all of a sudden, and it was probably 3 seconds or less, but this huge light lit up the whole back of this building, this room. And right in the middle of it was this huge male shadow.
Oh my God.
And it was taller than your door frame. So he had to be 7 foot tall.
Oh my God.
And it was just the shadow of a man standing there. We all saw it. 3 seconds, it was gone. And of course, we're like, did you see that?
Did you see that? Did you see that?
Exactly. And we did. We all saw the same thing. So it wasn't like one of us saw it and we're just like, oh, you're sleeping, you know? So we flip on the lights. We go back there. We're investigating, make sure somebody wasn't like hiding back there to like creep us out. And we found nothing. We probably spent half an hour to 45 minutes trying to debunk what we saw, and we could not recreate it. So that was one of the coolest things that I've experienced when we're investigating.
That sounds really cool. I can't wait until I experience something like that.
I know. I think the closest we got was
at the Bell Mansion, the Disembodied Voice.
Yeah.
So we went there, but you guys went there prior to that, right?
Yes.
And it was in the hallway, or?
It was. We went there. This was before we had interacted with your team, our team, the team that we're on, but we had not yet joined the team. So we kind of, through Facebook, got connected with a team. I think they were just trying to start Alt Division. It never took off. We did like one investigation. So we didn't know these people really, but we left them all in the kitchen because I'm an introvert and so is Mandy. So we just kind of like escaped, right? Like I was like, come on, let's go. And like we were all supposed to be in the kitchen. And so we escaped everybody else and we went up to the second floor. Nobody was there. And the next thing I know, I felt like something rushed up behind me. And I heard it say something into like my ear. And like I felt it on the back of my neck. Like I felt it. But I didn't ever know. I didn't know what it said. I didn't understand it. But Mandy, who was just slightly in front of me, heard the same thing.
I heard a man's voice say, boo.
Oh, so I was messing with you.
Yes, yes. Which we found out that Mr. Bell got a kick out of people coming to investigate. So I think he was playing around with us. Like, there's 2 girls in a dark hallway. Let me scare them.
Yeah, and it's said that he will actually scare the women in that particular hallway. I spun around with my flashlight, and it actually said it again. But I didn't see anything. And so that really freaked me out. It was like a kid under the covers, like pulling your head under the covers, like when you're little. And so I walked really fast, but I didn't say anything to Mandy because I was like so scared. I didn't want to like say anything. I just want to go, like go, go, go. And she was like,
I do?
yeah. So she was like, did you hear that? I'm like, yes, go, go.
Yeah.
And I mean, do I wish I would have reacted differently now? I absolutely do. We should have just dropped our equipment and started investigating.
I think we both do. And that was like a lesson because that's the first time anything like that had ever happened to us. And it did kind of freak us out. And it was the same floor where the embalming room was there and the casket viewing room, like that whole area. So we actually went in the old casket viewing room, which is now the yoga room. And we sat in there and we kind of just decompressed a little bit, I think, because we were like genuinely afraid, but excited too. But looking back, we would have like, I think just stopped and did something right there in the hallway. Not
it would have been ideal.
But I think we've learned that.
It was learning experience.
Like, don't run away when something happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Stop and listen, right?
I know.
Yeah. Turn on your equipment. Yeah, I've never captured any of the stuff that I've experienced because
it just wasn't on the recording.
It was not on the, and we were recording. You can hear my feet shuffle in a circle.
You can hear me say, "Did you hear that?" But you
cannot hear.
Yeah,
which is a bummer.
So when we went as a group, and you guys were there. You guys spent the night, right? You
Yeah.
slept
We
in
did.
the
We
yoga
slept
room.
there.
Yeah. Well, Judy and I didn't want to tell you because you guys were up there getting ready for bed, and we went down to the basement to get our stuff because we were leaving, right? We were going back
Yeah.
and sleeping somewhere else. So,
And I'm sorry, just to be clear, we didn't do an episode on it, but we did go back to the Bell Mansion with our entire team. And that's what Kelly's referring to now.
sorry, but
No, it's
yeah.
okay.
No, you're good.
So we were there as a group, and it was a fun evening. I don't know that I got a lot of stuff, but the very end, and you guys were getting ready for bed, and we weren't going to freak you out, but we went down to the basement to collect all of my equipment and everything.
Mhm.
And there was that door that went into the basement area down there where you climbed into the
Yes.
coffin box and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that. So we were down there, but we were in like the snack area where they had the tables and we could keep our equipment. But
Yes.
that door was still open. And so Judy and I were just down there and we were like packing up stuff and we heard like very clear footsteps in that room.
Well, that was where we got our first EVP. Mm-hmm.
And but so we heard footsteps and then we looked at each other, and we're like, yeah, we both heard that. And then there were a couple more and we're like, hey, is somebody there? And then they were like quicker footsteps and they were closer to the door.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, we're leaving. You can stay right where you're at. We're going to leave you alone. And we like grabbed our stuff and we booked it out of there. Judy was the first one up the stairs. And I'm like waiting for her. And I'm sure it was nothing, but you know how you just get that feeling like something's behind you?
Yes.
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 So I don't think I flew up those stairs because I was just like, okay, I'm done.
And actually, to be honest, that was where we got our second EVP because we had gotten one EVP prior that night at the Bell Mansion. We actually got, I think, like 3 there that night.
We got the whistle.
Yeah, the whistle.
Okay.
I mean, we think it was an EVP. It's hard to say because it was whistling, but we feel strongly that it was. That night, we set up our stuff in the yoga room and we left our equipment on the floor. So, like, we're on air mattresses. Our equipment is on the floor. And our equipment triggered. Like, we went to
Throughout the
sleep with
night.
it triggering. And we just, like, let it go. I thought my daughter-in-law might be a little bit freaked out because she went with us. She's not a paranormal investigator. She's been a few times. But nope, the equipment was going off and she was snoring.
Well, it's funny because at one point, Melissa and her daughter-in-law were on one mattress, and then I was on like a different mattress kind of next to them. And at one point, the equipment was going off, and her daughter-in-law and I both looked at each other like, okay, we both hear that. But we were both tired, and we're like, we like freaked out. I'm like, what? Then the next day, I said to Melissa, like, what is wrong with me? Because
And
I wasn't afraid.
Normal people would be scared.
but
And
I
we were
wasn't
just like,
afraid.
Yeah, but once you do it a while, most of them aren't gonna.
Nothing has ever hurt me.
They're not there. They're just letting you know they're there.
Yeah, which is what we wanted.
we're not
Yeah,
the
that's
first
why we're
people.
there.
Yeah.
We're not the first people to sleep at the Bell Mansion, and no one has ever been hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
True. Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, I love that place. I know some people didn't get a lot of activity, but like we always do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like we had some good activity. I mean, it wasn't a ton. I feel like most of the team really didn't enjoy it there too much, but I felt like we had got some decent activity.
Well, it was good, and I enjoyed it. I think the most is that one bedroom, like
Where the bear would not stop going off.
Yeah, your bear was going
Yeah.
off, and the fireplace, and there were the cat balls, and everything
Yeah.
kept going off.
And it was like that the first time too.
Okay.
Yeah, nonstop in that room. Anyway, what about you, Mandy? I see you have a very detailed.
My outline.
Yeah, we have like smaller outlines. Mandy has a very detailed, which is great. I'm very supportive of it. So,
Okay. This first story, I'm not really even sure if it's paranormal or not.
and it's okay because really, are we sure any of this is paranormal? We can't prove it.
Exactly.
This is true. This is true. When I was about 14 years old, I had my first episode of sleep paralysis. And I remember telling my mom about it and her telling me, like, oh, like, it happens, it's no big deal. And it was just I can't move, I can't scream, like, that kind of thing. But one time I had it, and it really freaked me out. So in I'm going to say dream, but
Is this the story I think it is?
yes.
Okay, I'm here for it.
I still am not sure. I think it was a dream, but it didn't feel like a dream.
I feel like this is a very creepy story that's very worthy of this. So
I was somehow like above myself, and I could see myself sleeping on the bed, like an out of body kind of thing. And I could see myself, but then I started to get that sleep paralysis feeling, like I'm trying to scream and I can't. And I'm floating, and I'm like, at this point, like I'm up against the ceiling, like in the corner of the wall in the ceiling, and I can't scream. And I want to yell for my mom. I want to yell for help. and I can't, so I start taking my body and like trying to hit it against the wall to make noise so my mom would wake up. Like that was my thought. Like I need to make some type of noise so she can hear me. After that, I honestly don't remember anything else. I don't remember waking up. I don't remember it ending. It just kind of flowed, and then I just remembered that. I don't remember if it was, I remembered it right after or the next morning. Like I really don't have any memory of when I became conscious of this. But it was terrifying. And like right now, like
that would be absolutely terrifying. I have goosebumps.
It makes me kind of tear up right now. Like it was terrifying.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that. I've never had a dream like that. I don't think
I never have either.
I've never either. And I mean, you can say all you want, like, oh, I don't know if it's paranormal. And of course, we never could, right? But some people would, you know, say that that's astral projections. You're not the only one that's experienced it. It is a phenomena.
I wondered, like, did I, like, die? Like,
oh, yeah.
You know what
I
mean?
say, yeah.
See, like, did something happen to me? I don't know. Or maybe it was just a dream. You know, I don't know, but I'm old. I've had a lot of dreams. That's the scariest.
I don't know if that's a dream. That would be like a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. It really was. And I've had sleep paralysis maybe a couple times after that, but never like that. And the last time I had it, I went years, and maybe just like within the last year, I had it one time, and it wasn't as bad. But I think that's the first time I had it again since I was a teenager.
Do you know why you have those episodes? I mean,
don't. Like the one that I had most recently, I was actually listening to a podcast as I was falling asleep. And the next day at work, I actually had Melissa. I said, this happened to me. Let's listen to the podcast I was listening to when I fell asleep. And I do think that, I don't remember exactly what they were talking about.
I can't recall either.
But there was something in it that I think made me triggered something in that, you know. But other than that, I haven't had it since I was a kid.
Yeah, but I mean, I've had sleep paralysis. Like, I feel like I did have it more as a child. Like, do you ever feel like you were falling?
When you're a teenager, I think.
Yeah, did you ever feel like you were like falling like in your bed, but really you were just having sleep paralysis and you couldn't move? You know, so I used to have things like that all the time, but I've never actually had sleep paralysis and could look at myself. Like, that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first thing I remember, and I don't like it.
Yeah, that would be a little unsettling.
My sister and I started playing with the Ouija board. I was about 18, she was about 14, and we would just mess around with it. You know, we didn't even think it would really work, you know, and my mom hated it. My mom didn't really like us playing with it, but she didn't make us stop either. You know, she would just roll her eyes, I think, mostly, and tell us we shouldn't be doing it. But we would start out, like, kind of innocent, like, who am I going to marry, you know, stuff like that. And the planchette started moving. And at first it was, are you doing that? Are you doing that? You know, no. And I thought she was at first because she was the type of person to do that.
Okay.
But it wasn't her. And after a while, it got weird. Like, we would be playing in my room, we would sit on my bed, and we had the door shut, and it would spell out really fast, grown up coming. And then it would just stop, like it would move, and then my mom would open the door. And it's like, it knew she was coming before we knew she was coming in there. And it wouldn't work in front of her. You know, she thought we were crazy or making it up. It would not work in front of her, and it would just stop. And sometimes it would fly, the planchette would like just fly back and forth really fast, like across the board, and it would go to the letter Z and then N. Z, N, Z, N, Z, N, like super, super fast. And we kind of, and a couple of my friends started playing with it too. We would say that was the name of the spirit of the board, ZN. And I think there's isn't there the Zozo?
Yeah. Yeah.
That what you were thinking? Don't say his name. Which I had never heard of that back then.
Yeah.
Didn't know what that was.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I've thought about like the Ouija board because, and not to discount your experience, and I believe you because I know you and I love you, but I've never really known if I believe in that or not, right? It's, I'm just kind of on the fence about it, up in the air about it. But you got to think, like, it was manufactured as a game. And, you know, everybody is always saying, oh, it depends on, like, your intention and blah, blah, blah. But somewhere along the line, like, let's just say, like, it was manufactured as a game. Did people use it for the wrong thing and use it to attempt to contact spirits? Or were children just playing with it? And people along the line just realized that that is actually what it did. And it was just kind of a failed game because of that.
I mean, but it was a real board that people made before it was a toy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a long...
I don't know the history of it.
Yeah, there's a long history. We can do that some other time if you want. But
I didn't know.
In Salem, and they have a store, and it's got all the history, and those people usually come to some of the Paracons. But yeah, it got really big like during World War II because people wanted to try to communicate with their loved ones that had maybe passed away during World War II. And it was also, believe it or not, it was a way that like a man and a woman could like, touch hands and stuff. Because they put the board between them. Yeah.
Kind of like watching a horror movie.
Yeah, without, because back then, to be, the etiquette wasn't, But yeah, there's a long history, and yeah, I don't understand why they sold it as a game. But I honestly have never touched one, messed with one, whatever you want to say.
I never have either.
But in college, there's always somebody in the dorm that everybody's like, oh, she's a witch, or whatever. But this girl was going like on a Friday or Saturday night. She was going like room to room, asking people who wanted to do it with her, and they ended up in my room, and I was like, nah, I'm good. And she's like, no. And she had 3 or 4 people with her and they were, doing it. And she's like, no, just ask it a question. And I'm like, and at that time I wasn't dating anybody. I didn't, whatever. And I was like, all right, what's the name of the guy I'm going to marry? And so she's like, all right, so she's doing it. And she's like, B-I-L-L. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I don't even know anybody by that name.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't think about it again for years and years and years, and my husband's name is Bill, so that was weird.
Yeah, you can't explain that. You can't explain that.
There's lots of names out there. I think J names are the most common.
They are. We started to get a little bit afraid after that.
Yeah.
So did you guys keep playing with it?
There was a point where we stopped playing with it because things started happening that I don't know that we thought they were necessarily paranormal at the time. The first thing we remember, it sounds so stupid, but my mom, we were always big pop drinkers, and my mom would go to the store and she'd buy 2 liters of pop, and all of the extras, she'd buy in bulk or whatever, they would sit in the floor in the kitchen next to the refrigerator. There's like 3 or 4 down there. They disappeared. Who drank the pop? Who took the pop? You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. Everybody know we didn't do it. Nobody thought nothing about it. I feel like it's just pop, right? And then a little bit later, steak knives disappeared. All of our steak knives. Out of our drawer. We never found them. Ever found them.
Is this on your paper?
Yes.
Okay. No. I'm just wondering because I don't remember this part. So I didn't know if you were just telling a little bit more than normal. Because I'm connecting this now. Are you connecting this to your adulthood ever? Do I not realize that? Do you? No, go ahead. I'm just connecting this to your whole life. But go ahead.
Are you saying the knives in particular or stuff disappearing?
Disappearing, reappearing. It all started with the Ouija board because it went into your adulthood. But anyway, go ahead with your story because we're all going to find that out.
I feel like I'm an intervention. It's just...
And you know what the funny thing is that you were just telling me earlier today, it stopped when your sister passed away. So maybe something connected itself to her. Anyway, keep going. We'll all understand what I'm talking about.
Okay. The thing, this didn't happen to me, but I feel like it was scary. So one day, I was probably about 19, 20, I went out with my boyfriend and my sister and her boyfriend. We all went somewhere, and we got home, and my mom's like, oh, you're just not getting home? Yeah, we just walked in the door. She goes, I thought you guys got home about 10, 15 minutes ago. She was downstairs ironing. We had a basement, that's where she would do her ironing. And she's like, I heard the front door open, and I heard somebody with your voice say, Mom, I wasn't here. And that freaked her out a little bit. But my mom is a denier, right? Because she doesn't want to believe it. My sister one time saw in her bedroom a little boy that she said he looked like he was from the early 1900s. He had reddish hair and overalls, old school, overalls. Didn't scare her, didn't say anything. This is comparison to say, it got to the point where I was literally felt terrified to go to sleep by myself. Even though nothing horrible had really happened to me, I think it was a feeling or something.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How old were you, do you estimate, when you guys played with the Ouija board?
I was about 18.
So do you think this was before or after you had that dream?
It was after I had the dream.
Okay. I was just wondering.
So I would be afraid, and I would literally make my sister sleep in my bed with me. Like, I was terrified. And one night, when she did not reciprocate and sleep in bed with me, I got to go to the bathroom. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. For some reason, I was more comfortable sleeping on the floor than my bed when I was alone. I don't know why. And I was sleeping on the floor. You know, you're young, you can sleep on the floor. And I got to go to the bathroom, and I went back in my room to lay back down. And the pillow that I had on the floor where I was sleeping was on my bed. I don't know how I got on my bed. You know, and it was just little things that don't sound scary, and I can't say they were scary, but I had this overwhelming sense of fear at that time. I don't really remember if we got rid of the Ouija board before I started feeling that way or after, but my mom made us get rid of it.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So, when you were playing with the Ouija board, what kind of questions were you asking?
The ones I remember the most, I think, were innocent. You know, who am I gonna marry? You know, sometimes it would compliment us and say you're pretty, which, like, as I've gotten older, I've done more research, and I know that a lot of, like, demons or negative things can start out being nice to you.
All right, they want to groom you, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I didn't think of it that way. But then we would, you know, who were we talking to? Do you know my grandma? You know, because my grandma died. You know, stuff like that. I don't remember ever really asking it anything negative, and I really don't remember it saying anything negative. You know, just stuff would happen. But I remember my mom would just throw it out, and I kind of don't remember the exact timeline, but somewhere in between there, my parents got divorced, and me and my mom and my sister, we had moved to where my mom still lives, and they would tell me stories all the time about weird stuff disappearing. First of all, let me preface that with my sister had OCD. She had everything was neat, had a place, and my mom, when she was younger, was very, not that she's not neat now, but she was way more particular when she was younger.
Mandy's also very particular. Like, everything in her house is immaculate. I'm jealous of it all the time. Like, everything is organized, everything is immaculate. It's just beautiful in there always.
Thank you.
Like, even when it's messy, like, because there's like 4 dishes in the sink. Anyway, go ahead.
So my mom had decided that she was going to wash the curtains in the living room. So there was like a big living room curtain rod. She took the rod down, she took the curtains off to wash them, left the curtain rod sitting in the living room. And when she went to go put the curtains back on the curtain rod was gone. Gone. Never to be found. Again, to this day, never found.
Now, I have a question. When you wrote this, when I say when she wrote this, because we all had to write notes about what we wanted to talk about, because when you sit down and you record, you'll forget what you want to say. Mm-hmm. So I told everybody to like make bullet points or, write it down so that you're not forgetting. But when you wrote this, did you write that to go with the Ouija board story, or did you write that to go with the rest of your adulthood story as like a separate?
It's after the Ouija board, but I wonder if it's still connected.
Okay, because that's what I think, but I didn't know if you had written it as if it was connected. But
I was just trying to write stuff down in a somewhat chronological order that they happened.
Well, because I know that there's a point where you stop connecting it, because you've talked to me about different things that have happened throughout your adulthood, and some that have even happened like since I've known you, and you haven't connected it to that Ouija board incident. But now that we're hearing it all laid out, it does seem connected. But anyway, go ahead.
My mom, then I felt like my mom was targeted a little bit. My mom would go to the store and buy new clothes. She'd hang them up in her closet. She'd go to get them or, whatever. They'd be gone. Disappeared. Never found. She got to where she was leaving bags in her car because she did not want them to disappear. And they would disappear from her car.
Wow.
She would literally kill me, guys. She would kill me so bad for this. But, this happened. And she would just, I don't know what she would do to rationalize it. I think she just tried to pretend it didn't happen. But there were a couple of times where things appeared. The coolest instance that I can think of is my mom and my sister were shopping. And my mom, she's older. She takes medicine. She's got one of those pill boxes by day. Well, she's seen this pill box that I guess it had a really cute design on it, and she thought it was really cute, but she's like, I'm not going to pay whatever it was. I don't need it. Her and my sister together, so there's no one at the house, like nobody else lived there. They get home together, walk in the house together, and that pillbox that she liked at the store was on the kitchen table.
I might return it at that point.
I don't think she ever used it. But it's weird. Like, and I feel crazy saying it, but you have to know.
No, it's weird.
Yeah.
But, like, my family, you would just, I know everyone says that, like, people are not making it up. Like,
I mean, and you've got to
not
think,
making
we're
it up.
saying this in front of the general public. People
Yeah.
are going to form their own
I know,
opinions.
that's
I
fine.
know that you're not a liar.
And people can think what they want.
Yeah.
This is what happened. And then the other instance where something appeared out of nowhere, and I don't remember the exact details, there was some type of snack or food that my mom liked, and when they got home, it was sitting on the table. Like packaged food, like, no, you know, not like homemade food.
Like something
like
she'd seen
in
at
a
the
box
store.
or bag. And it was on the table. And, like, I always kind of thought maybe that was something trying to make amends for taking everything all those times. I don't know. So that's kind of what happened to them, which is not really my story, but I guess I do kind of feel it's all
I feel like it's like your
connected.
family's
It's all
story,
connected.
right?
Yeah.
And then the stuff that happened to me at my house, this may have been happening at the same time that this was happening at my mom's house. I'm not exactly
You're
sure.
not in chronological order.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could have been around the same time, maybe a little bit before or after, but at my personal house that I still live in, my middle son had a birthday party, and you know when there's a birthday party, there's tons of trash. You know, you've got the wrapping paper and the extra food. There's a lot more trash. than normal.
Boxes, yeah.
So we had bagged it all up, and it was late, so rather than taking it outside, we piled it up in the laundry room, and we were going to take it out the next morning. There was probably 6 or 8 trash bags. They disappeared. Gone. Not in my trash bin. Not in the house. Not out. Gone. Just gone. The trash. And this happened more than once. Sometimes with gross trash, even. Like,
And
just
at this
gone.
point in your life, you are not connecting it. I know this because I've heard the story.
No.
You're not connecting it back to that Ouija board incident.
No,
But it does
point,
seem
by this
related,
point,
right?
I'm probably in my 30s, maybe 40s. Hadn't touched a Ouija board since I was 18. Because I'm afraid of them now.
Doesn't it seem like the same type of thing, though? I mean, stuff
Yeah.
disappearing, appearing. It's like you guys manifested something and it
But
maybe took long breaks but
I
didn't go
also
away.
feel like it's still being helpful.
Well, and to me, I don't know why I haven't done Ouija boards, but to me, just what you're explaining to me sounds like there were a couple things that maybe came through.
Maybe.
Like one that's not so nice, and then one that is maybe nice or protective.
That makes sense.
You know?
Another weird thing, this happened at my house, but it was with my mom. She used to babysit my boys at my house. And when she was there, sometimes she'd be an angel and she would wash my laundry. And she had washed a load of dish towels. And she had to leave, I think, to go pick up one of the boys from the bus stop. So she took them out of the washer because she was afraid they'd get mildewy. But she didn't want to put them in the dryer because she was leaving. So she took the few dish towels and she hung them over the edge of the laundry basket just to kind of air dry until she could put them in the dryer. So she picked up one of my kids or whatever. She came back. Those dish towels were not hanging anymore. They were folded in half, still wet, but laying in the laundry basket. Now, when we fold our dish towels, I fold them in, we fold them in half and I fold them in half again. These are just folded in half once. So not how I fold it, not how she folds it.
And the thing is, too, is that, like, if I came home and my dish towels were half folded, it would be because I had a basket of dish towels that had been sitting here for half of a week, and there was a bunch of other things, and I wouldn't even question how they got folded or not folded. But in your guys' household, everything is so particular, and there is nothing amiss, nothing a mess, that, I mean, you can know just, if you can know just how you fold a dish towel that wasn't you that folded it. You know what I mean? If your house is always clean and immaculate like that, you can tell when something wasn't you or something wasn't. You know what I mean? It's easier to say.
Which, yeah, I agree.
It's my Great Dane.
Another time where something disappeared, at the end of the school year, the boys their backpacks would hang on the coat rack and they'd say they're all summer, and then I would buy new ones and then we would get rid of the old ones, which is kind of what we did. I bought new ones, I went to get rid of the old ones, clean them out, they were gone. And my youngest son he wasn't at the age to go to school yet. So when it was the first day of school, I took my 2 older boys to school, and I was driving back to my house. My younger son's in the back seat in his little booster seat, and we pull up by my house, and he goes, Mom, there's a boy with a backpack standing in the yard. And I look, and I don't see anything, and he didn't see anything either. And then it connected. Oh my, those backpacks disappeared. Was that a ghost boy? Like, what was that? And I mean, I didn't see it, but it was weird that the backpacks were gone, and then he sees a boy with a backpack
standing in your yard that you don't see. Yeah,
and there were no, as far as I knew, like young kids. They should have all been in school at that point. You know what I mean? At that age, it was just weird. At one of my youngest son's birthdays, his birthday's around Halloween, and we wanted to do some activities with the kids, so we bought like all the small little funky shaped gourds and stuff, and we got pipe cleaners and eyeballs and, you know, little decorations, little hats and stuff, and we all made gourd people. So, and my sister was involved, you know, me, my mom, everybody, Andy came over, everybody was playing with these gourds, making them. Well, all the kids took theirs home with them, but all that my family had made, we lined them up on the entertainment center. And then they all disappeared, like, after a few days. Gone.
I've never had stuff disappear. Like, it's just so weird, like, when you're telling me this. Like, it's just such a weird...
It doesn't just... It never comes back.
Well, I've had
right,
stuff
it's not like you find it. Well, right. I mean, I guess I've had stuff disappear, too, but it's, like, little things that I know that, like, got lost or... But, like, it's not gourds on the mantle, you know?
Mine is stuff that disappears, but it's just because I can't remember where I put it.
Right. Yeah, I have that, too.
I mean, and we all have that. I mean, but that would be like you coming down here one day and your vase is gone. And you never find this vase that's here, right? You're not going to misplace the vase. This is a spot.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I just imagine whatever this thing is, if it's one thing, maybe it's 2 things, but just in frustration. Like, no matter what I do, she just goes on with her life.
I know.
I take things, I give her things. She just keeps going on.
I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. So the most recent stuff that disappeared, it was like during COVID. I was cleaning out, you know, doing a deep dive cleaning, and I got just some old, like, wall art stuff that I didn't want, and I had it all in a pile in my bedroom to donate, and it all disappeared.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. So those are the only things that I can think of when I say only things. There was only 50, but that disappeared. But I can tell you that I don't have that same negative feeling that I did when I was younger. Like, all this stuff disappearing, in a way, it was all stuff I was going to give away, throw away, donate, you know what I mean? It wasn't, nothing bad disappeared.
Right, the stuff that's disappearing is stuff you were getting rid of anyway.
Yeah, well, except for the gourds.
Helping.
But I was going to get rid of them eventually, right?
That's true.
Like,
yeah, you weren't going to keep them.
They're going to rot.
Right.
So I feel like it actually got to a point that I would joke and just say, thank you, you know? I don't know, like, I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
It's kind of helpful. I don't feel scared. Nothing bad happens. The other weird thing that happened in my house, that my mom was back when she was watching the boys. She was in my kitchen, and if you're in my kitchen, you can look and see the family room and my oldest son's bedroom, and then there's the hallway to get in the bathroom.
Oh, I remember this too.
She thought she saw him walk out of his bedroom and into the bathroom. Well, a couple minutes later, he walked out of his bedroom, and she said, "How'd you get back in the bedroom?" And he's like, I never left my bedroom. But she saw a young man that she thought was him, you know, and we don't know what that was. But in that area, my sister and I used to sit in the family room and watch TV, and we would both see like almost shadow people in the hallway. And usually when we would see it, I always thought of it as like maybe a child, like 4 or 5 feet tall, you know, not the shadow. When you would look at it, it would go away. It would just be out of the corner of your eye. Well, the one time we were watching TV and I whispered to my sister, I said, "Look in the hallway." You know, I whispered it. And then she whispers back, "When did it get so big?" And I had thought the same thing. It was tall. Now it was like as big as a 6 foot tall man. But when you look at it directly, you know, you don't see it. But I thought that was interesting that she saw the same thing I did.
Right.
Because, you know, I could always say, I'm imagining it, I didn't see it. Because that's what I always do, you know. Those are the only things I can think of. I mean, I guess it all did start with the Ouija board, now that I'm thinking about it. But nothing negative anymore. I'm not afraid at all.
I actually don't have that much because, as I've said on here a lot of times, I didn't believe in the paranormal until me and Mandy actually started paranormal investigating. But before we started paranormal investigating, I did live in a house. It was my first house as an adult, so I rented it. It was kind of an odd house. My dad actually worked with the people that owned it. It was on a main road, and he got it for me to rent kind of cheap. I had 2 small children. I was only 20, so that worked out well for me. So I move into this house, and it's really outdated. I don't know what year it was built. It's super old, and it's an awkward house in a few different ways. It's in a suburb, but it's a rural house. So it's on 7 acres, very kind of out of place. There are houses around it that are the same, but it's also backwards on the road. So like the front of the house faces the back and out toward a barn. So like I could walk out my back door, which should have been my front door, walked back, like across a ditch, like through like 20 apple trees and to this big green barn. And this is in the same area I live in now. It's hard to believe that there's even an area where a house is on 7 acres. I mean, this is just, it's a city over here, right? The back of the house was just covered in windows. So like the kind of picture windows that you would imagine being in the front of a house, like behind somebody's couch. But instead of there just being one, there was 4. So these windows were huge. They were like, I'm going to estimate 6 by 6 with windows above them that actually like 2 smaller ones on each side and then 2 larger ones that went up to match the cathedral ceiling. So basically the entire back of the house was windows. There's no street lights where this is. So it was kind of an eerie house is my point, because the first night I was there, I stood and I looked at the windows and I realized that all I could see was my own reflection. Like somebody could have been directly on the other side staring back at me. I would not have been able to see them. And my mom was there with me and I was like, oh my God, like that's scary. And she was like, we'll get blinds. And we did. We got blinds and I left them open a lot. I definitely got used to it. But it was just like a different kind of country like atmosphere in the middle of a city. And I also want to say, this is my favorite house that I ever lived in. If I had the opportunity, I would live in it again. I very much loved it. I think it was the second or third night that I was there. We decided to go to Walmart, which it's funny because like this was
before Walmart was even
I think it had
a big deal
just been built, actually. I went around and I turned off all the lights in the house. This house was 4 bedrooms. So, I mean, it was actually really cool too because it was all one level. You just don't find a lot of houses like that. It was like really long. So I turned off all the lights because I had never even had a house before, let alone a house this big. I was a little bit nervous about the electric bill. I was a single mom, 2 small children. I, turned off every single light. Mm-hmm. And I also had a dog. I had a small pug. I left and I went to Walmart and I came back and every single light in my house was on. And I called my mom because she had a key. Her and my dad had a key. And I said, what, were you here? Like, what did you come over here for? Why did you leave all my lights on? We weren't there. And she wouldn't lie about that. I mean, and she definitely wouldn't have made the mistake of leaving all my lights on if she was going to, because she's definitely, if she wanted to be, she's a sneaky woman. I'm not gonna catch her in something like that. But she wouldn't lie to me anyway. They weren't there. And my dad had just changed the locks. So, like, when he changed the locks, like, they kept a key. Like, they didn't even give me the option. I would have given him one anyway. It wasn't a big deal. But he changed those locks. Those are brand new.
So you're saying that there's no way that
no one else had a key. No way. No way. My dog was sitting in the middle of my kitchen trembling. So I have no idea what happened. I never found out. All the lights were just on and the dog was just shaking in the middle of the kitchen. I mean, eventually I forgot about it. Life goes on, right? I didn't think it was a ghost. It didn't even cross my mind. I don't know what I thought. I don't know what happened, right? Probably, I would say I lived there about 6 months before the light in the living room came on. It was 10 o'clock at night, and then the light in the living room started coming on at 10 o'clock at night. I did not think it was paranormal. I did not think it was a ghost. I remember thinking to myself, like, why am I never noticing the switch? Because like you go to turn it like back off, right? So like I would see that it was on, I would get up and go to turn it back off. And I never could get myself to notice the switch, like if the switch was up or if the switch was down and the light was on.
And I'm assuming you did, but you made sure like it wasn't on some type of timer.
I mean, I don't know how there could have been a timer. I don't know. I mean, there was nothing plugged in anywhere that I know of. I just assumed there was an electrical problem. And I was young and I just let that go. I probably should have like called an inspector. I don't know.
And it only had the electrical problem every night at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, only every night at 10 o'clock. And then my friend Jennifer, who also had kids and was also young, fell on some harder times. And she needed a place to stay for a few months. So I said her and her kids could stay. They were just going to stay in my living room on air mattresses because that was the room we had. And they weren't moving in. That scared the shit out of her. And I remember when it did it, and I was just like, oh, it just does that. And she's like, what? I'm like, I don't know, it's an old house. Like, it just does it. And she's like, that's not okay. That's not normal. And I'm, and she's like freaking out like every night when it does it. And I'm just like, just let it go. Just go to sleep, So then also the fan above the stove would come on, which instead of me thinking, oh, something paranormal is in this house, reinforced my theory in my head that there's an electrical problem. But it wouldn't come on like every day or like once a week. It was just kind of random. It was a little startling when it happened because it was noisy because it was super old.
And it would do it like even if you weren't cooking?
Oh, I never turned it on. Like I would never turn it on. I've never used fans above the stove. Actually, that's been a recent discussion that we've had here because I've recently moved that I never used the fan above the stove. I actually never used the fan in the bathroom either when I shower. Jeff told me that I only like fans if they're making it some temperature in the room because I like to sleep in the cold. But
so I have a question. So the light comes on at 10 o'clock every night.
Yeah.
Would it just stay on until you turned it off, or?
I don't feel like I ever let it stay on. I wasn't testing it. I wasn't trying to debunk anything. I would just get up and turn it back off. I don't like lights on when I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
I would just get up like it was nothing and turn it back off. Like this was not, in my head, this was not scary to me. It didn't bother me. I just went and turned it off.
But then it would just stay off until 10 o'clock the next night.
Yes, it did not come back on.
Oh, okay.
Never once did it come back on after I turned it off. So it has been suggested to me throughout the years that maybe something was trying to get my attention. And I feel a little bit bad for it because it didn't get it. It was unsuccessful. Then, we had the fan above the, the stove come on. I don't remember which happened first. There were two more instances, and these to me were quite different. So I'm in the back of the house, in my backyard. I'm gardening. I remember it as being like maybe a 70, 75 degree day. Like it wasn't hot. It wasn't cold. I wasn't wearing a jacket. I'm just outside in my flower beds planting stuff. I didn't go out a lot in my early 20s because I had two small children. I never had a babysitter. I didn't have money for a babysitter. Their dad wasn't around, so he wasn't taking them. I did this as a hobby. And so I had my kids outside with me and they're playing in the yard while I'm planting flowers. Well, my older child, who was, I'm going to say he was about 2, maybe 3, he was still drinking out of a sippy cup. He wanted his sippy cup out of the fridge. So I opened the back door, and you remember, there's all the windows. So I can see into the entirety of my house, right, through all these windows. I sent him in to get his sippy cup. So he opens the fridge, he grabs his cup, and there's this humongous, just boom noise. And I look to my right through the windows, and I can see that the fireplace, the glass in front of it, the doors is shattered. Now, when it shattered, it did not fall out of the doors because it was tempered glass, right? So it was shattered into a million pieces, but just spider webbed and in there, right? And kind of, some of it was kind of falling, but not really. So like I had to knock it out and then like put thin wood pieces in there to, because the air would come through. So at that time, I just kind of chalked it up to like maybe there was like a pressure problem or I don't know. I don't know, things happen that I don't know in houses because I was young and I didn't know.
What did your son do? Did he cry? Like that had to be so scary.
I don't recall him crying. I don't remember really freaking out either. I do remember walking into the house and like going into there and just saying, oh my God, this broke, But none of us acted like it was like a huge deal. It was loud, but I don't recall him like crying or anything. And then there was one more instance, which I don't know if you can call it an instance or not, just like everything else, right? We don't know. I was sleeping on the couch and I was on my back and I had sleep paralysis. And although I did have sleep paralysis when I was young, and I actually feel like I had it quite a bit when I was young, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure everybody has it varying amounts. I feel like it's more common when you're young. I feel like I had it like sometimes maybe almost every night when I was young, but I didn't have it when I was older. So I think this is maybe the only time as an adult I've had sleep paralysis. I was on my back, sleeping on the couch, and there was all this pressure on my chest, and it felt like something was on my chest, and I couldn't move and I couldn't lift myself. And I was trying to really hard and I couldn't. And then I felt it lean down and whisper into my ear. But I don't know what it said because apparently, just like at the Bell Mansion, I'm not good at deciphering what things are saying to me in my ear on a whim. I don't know what it said, but it really freaked me out. Like that freaked me out. But I just chalked it up to it was just a dream. It was just sleep paralysis and just kind of moved on. So I might have lived in a haunted house.
I think you did.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm just, walking around like, oh, there's no such thing as ghosts and everything is fine. And my house just has an electrical problem and I just have nightmares and fireplaces just burst sometimes.
You know what's funny? You probably don't really remember this, but like her and I work together now. And like we became friends like the last, 5 years or so? 4 or 5 years.
It was like during COVID.
Yeah.
It was weird. We worked in the office and we were friends, but we weren't like friends outside of work until COVID hit and they sent us home. And then we became friends outside of work.
Yeah, weird. But I remember, because I've always loved paranormal stuff, and I remember like sometimes maybe just talking about something, maybe to you or maybe just with somebody else, and I always knew that she was like, yeah, okay.
Well, and my thought as you tell your story about your house is, at that point, you're not predispositioned to be looking for things, like the light caught, because it's something that happened every day, the fan, that's a noise. But I'm just wondering, like, what else maybe was going on that
I
like,
just didn't even, because I am very unobservant. We say that all the time, very unobservant. So who knows? I was actually watching a show one time, like a paranormal show, and they were putting a ball on the stairs. And the ball would eventually fall down the stairs. And I remember saying, if that happened in my house, I would just be like, who put this damn ball on the stairs? Like, somebody come get this ball. I would be like, I'm throwing this ball in the garbage. Like, I wouldn't ever be like, oh, the ball just randomly fell down the stairs. Like, I wouldn't do that. I'd just be like, oh my God, get rid of this thing, I don't know. So I guess I'm just not looking for things in my everyday, but I do have some other things that happened to me on a personal level after I became a paranormal investigator. And one is kind of one of the saddest things that's happened to me as an adult. Which is funny. I say that because it includes somebody I love dearly passing away. Now, I've had a lot of people I love dearly pass away, and it's always sad and it's always terrible, but it's a lot easier to take it when the people that pass away have been sick a while or they're older. But my friend Jeremy was driving home from work when he was rear-ended on the freeway so badly that the trunk of his car was in the back seat. So when I say my friend Jeremy, it wasn't somebody I dated or anything like that. He was my best friend's boyfriend, but I had a very tight clique of friends. Like, I saw these people every day. We were seeing each other a little bit less, but I still knew where Jeremy was. I knew what he was up to every single day. I feel like there's not a lot of times in life where you have friends like that. He wasn't, I wouldn't say like a best friend or anything, but I mean, we were just close. He was a very big part of my life, right? One day, my friend Sherry, who is one of my best friends, calls me and, she says, Jeremy didn't make it home. Can you start calling hospitals? And I do. And we looked for him for 5 hours before the state trooper finally came and told us, told his parents, because they were Mexican, that he had passed away. So just to let you know, I mean, that's how close we were. It wasn't like I was just somebody who got notified even the next day, right? Like, I was actively looking for him for 5 hours. I was there when they had told his children. I had my Halloween decorations up. This is about a month later. I had Halloween decorations up in my living room. And my living room, I've recently moved. Actually, that's why we haven't podcasted in so long. I feel like I've been moving for like 6 months. It's kind of crazy. But I had this kind of odd-shaped L living room. So the L part, that kind of was off to the side. It was kind of a nothing area. It didn't even have an exit. That's what I used as my office, and my computer was there, and that's what I did there. It was during the day, nobody's home. I do have 2 dogs, but nobody's home. I have 1 now, but at that time I had 2. I noticed the Halloween decorations, which are motion activated, are triggering. And I think, well, that's weird. And so, as I've started paranormal investigating now, I think, is there something to that? I close the curtains, I make sure the dogs aren't walking around them, and they continue to trigger. So I take out my paranormal equipment. Now, I've previously had my paranormal equipment in my living room. I mean, do you take out your paranormal equipment in your living room?
I do not.
Every time I get a new piece of equipment, I take it out in the living room and I test it. And my paranormal equipment did not go off when I tested, like, the different pieces when I tested them in my living room. My REM pods specifically that my daughter-in-law bought me for Mother's Day did not trigger when I tested it in my living room. It was completely silent. It was so disappointing because, I get a new piece of equipment. I'm like a little kid. I want to see it go off. But this particular day, my Halloween decorations were triggering. If that's what you want to call it. And I pull out some cat balls and I pull out my REM pod. My REM pod will not stop going off. I am not in a position to actually paranormal investigate at this time because I'm trying to work. I have a job and I'm trying to work. So I pull up an app called GhostTube. And like we always say on this podcast, apps, you have to take them with a grain of salt. Sometimes we see things in them that we think could not be faked but it's your phone. It's connected to the internet. You never know really what's behind that. But I take it out and I turn on this GhostTube app. It immediately says Jeremy. And so that was the moment where I was just like, okay, it's not like I've been sitting here saying his name. Whatever's behind my phone should know that he passed away a month ago. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't think that this should be happening. So I start kind of trying to investigate while I'm sitting there working, are you here? What's going on? And I can't, and I wish I could remember. I know I have screenshots somewhere. I can't remember what came next, but it said something that indicated to me that I should go get Sherry, because why would Jeremy want to talk to me? He would, right? He's my friend, but I am not the most important person here, right? So why, and I'm thinking at this time, why would Jeremy contact me? Well, Jeremy knows I paranormal investigate. So who better to try to reach out to a loved one than somebody paranormal investigates, right? So I get her, and I'm literally calling her. She's mowing the lawn, so I'm calling her, and I'm calling her, and I'm calling her. And something comes through, and it says, I think it was, I don't know, something along the lines of, stupid bee, which I feel like is, on brand with Jeremy and, something that he would say, because she's not answering the phone, right? Stupid bee, right? Finally, I get a hold of her, and she does come over. Not a lot happened, because she doesn't know. She's never paranormal investigated. I'm trying to tell her, but I also don't want to be pushy. And this is a very sensitive subject. This is the love of her life who has passed away. And I don't want to upset her, especially because how weird must it be to get a phone call that says, my paranormal investigation equipment is leading me to believe that your boyfriend is here and wants to talk to you. That's really upsetting, right? So I'm really trying to be sensitive. But, that was something that happened. I don't think that that's coincidence that the name Jeremy just came up. And
I remember that day.
Yeah.
Because we were talking on the phone.
When it started? Mm-hmm. I remember that now.
I think I was the one that she said, what do I do? Go get your equipment.
Right. I think you were. Because I feel like I didn't know. I needed someone to tell me, right? That I wasn't imagining it to do something. So, I don't know. Was Jeremy reaching out? I feel like he was, but he didn't. I never had anything happen after that. I never had him try again after that. If he wanted to get a message across, it didn't really happen, which is sad.
Maybe there wasn't a real message, but him contacting you and her, that just kind of says he's okay.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? He didn't have to say that for you to know that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's it. Aside from should I tell my story of my weird recent stuff? I don't know.
It's up to you. It was in my head. I was going to remind you about it, but.
Well, recently I did have some kind of, some weird stuff. So my husband was in the backyard and, he came in and said, "What?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, you're calling my name. And I'm like, no, I'm not, and then he like goes back outside. And, we don't think about it. It's just whatever, right? I mean, it's just, it happens sometimes, right? You think somebody's calling your name.
Or even a neighbor or something. Yeah.
Right. And it just so happens that this is happening like the day after I'm driving with my son. And I mean, I don't know if any of this stuff is relevant with each other, but it all happened in such a tight span that I just feel like it is. So I'm driving, and you know how sometimes people have like those taillights that flash, like they get special taillights and they like flash really fast, right? So somebody's in front of us with those taillights. So I'm just like, oh, do you see that? Because I don't know why that bothers me. Just things, when things flash or when things are loud, I don't know, I'm like hypersensitive or something. So he's like, oh yeah, like I see it. It's every time he brakes. But then we went under a streetlight and it was flashing. And I was like, oh, look at that. I mean, and this is right after, like the truck stops flashing. The streetlight starts flashing. After we're out from under the streetlight, it stops. And the next streetlight starts flashing because we're under it now, right? And then I'm just like, that was weird. Wasn't that weird? And he's like, yeah, that was weird. But nothing else for the rest of the car ride. So I think I was taking my son. Oh, I was taking my son to his friend's house. So I come home without him. Me and my husband are getting ready for bed. And we're laying there. And the TV's not on. We're just laying there in silence. And I have my back to him. And all of a sudden I hear this voice, like a whisper, but I mean, it's loud, but it's a whisper. And I'm like, what? And he's like, quit screwing with me. And I'm like, I'm not. What are you talking about? And he's like, you said my name again. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And then he's like, yes, you did. Quit messing with me. And I'm like, Jeff, I did not say your name. I did not say your name. I swear to you, but I heard whatever it was too. That's why I said what? And I replayed it in my head because, again, I didn't know what it said because apparently I don't know what things say on the fly in my ear. I could hear the whisper. I can hear the Jeff. Like after, he said that. I did not make that out on my own, though. So we're laying there and he does not believe me. And then I'm like, you heard your name earlier, too. I heard it with you this time. There's got to be something to that. Like, that's not... Like, you didn't just hear it. Like, you're not hearing things because if you were hearing things, I wouldn't hear it too. So we're laying there and the backyard motion light comes on, which has never come on before while we're in bed. And it like floods light into our windows and our whole bedroom is lit up. And that was freaky because we didn't know it was even our motion light at first because we've never seen it before. So we're like investigating this and we have Ring cameras in our backyard. None of them triggered. Nothing was back there, but the motion light in our backyard went off. So we get back in bed. We're laying there for a few minutes. We're starting to calm down. The TV lights up. Now this one...
Hello. I'm reaching out to you. Hello.
Now this one did seem a little bit more coincidental to us because it did like update. But I've never had my TV like turn on. And when I say turn on, we don't ever turn it off, right? Like we have Fire Stick TVs. So they're just sleeping. But we've never had it like wake up and update at 11 p.m. and just light up our room. Like that, it's odd. But at the same time, it did update. So I don't know if a ghost updated my Fire Stick, So then I actually like went to a Paracon with Kelly. And on the way home, like I had told her the story. And on the way home, I'm like thinking, I'm almost home and I'm like thinking about it, right? And what I'm thinking about is I don't think it started with Jeff hearing his name because about a month before, and we just moved into this house, but as much as we just moved into this house, it is my mother's house. We're purchasing it. So I'm familiar with this house, right? I was standing in the kitchen and I heard a voice right behind me. And I spun around so close to me and so loud that I spun around and was ready to swing.
Let me guess, you didn't understand what it
No.
said?
I have no idea. But when I did that, and like I was like I was trembling, right? Like it really scared the crap right out of me, right? I thought somebody was behind me in the kitchen. But when I did that, then I did notice that the window behind me, I mean, it's quite a ways actually. It's that window right there. So what do you think? I was standing right there where you are, Kelly.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you think that is, like
8 foot?
8 foot? The window about 8 feet from me was open. And I could hear a neighbor outside. So I was like, well, that must be, I must have mistaken something. It must have been the neighbor. And then Jeff walked in about, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes later. And I'm just like, oh, I thought somebody was in the kitchen behind me. And because I'm like still shaking. Like I can't, like I'm trying to shake it off, and I'm like still like shaking, right? And, he just like wrote it off as whatever, because he isn't into any of this, But I'm thinking about that as I'm driving, and I'm thinking, isn't that weird? Like I didn't think about that. I didn't correlate it before, but it seems like that would have been the very first thing that happened. And I have an Alexa. I have an old, my car is an 03. I love my car. I have an Alexa device in it. And so I'm thinking there's no radio on, just driving, just alone. And my Alexa goes, okay. I about jumped out of my skin. So I don't know.
She called me.
I did.
To talk to her while she drove home the rest of the way.
And as you were telling me this story on our way back from the Paracon, did you do what I told you to do?
Wait, what did you tell me to do?
Cleanse your house?
I have not yet. You will see that there's some sage behind you. But because, the thing is that Mandy said, what if something's trying to reach out to me? So we do want to investigate, and we just haven't gotten around to that. So after we investigate, we're going to sage and... Go ahead.
The reason that I said that is her dad passed away in this house.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
okay. I didn't know if you wanted to.
And I told her that's probably what it would be too.
Yeah.
But it sounded like a woman's whisper that said Jeff's name. Also, me and Jeff, we've been together for 10 years, and my dad has not been passed away for 10 years, but we dated for a long time without meeting each other's families. He's never actually met my dad. He was around when my dad passed. He's never actually met him. Also, people think I'm crazy when I say this. My dad was different. He was not an average guy at all. Best man I've ever known. Like, if you're here and you can hear him, I love you and I miss you. He would not ever, try to, reach out to me from beyond the grave. Like, he just wouldn't want to...
How do you know that?
Because he wouldn't want to bother me like that. Like, he wouldn't want to disturb me. He wouldn't want me to worry. He would not want to do that.
Right,
I know he wouldn't.
But maybe he's just letting you know that, like we talked about before, maybe he's wanting you to know that he's okay.
I don't think
he's there for you if you need anything. No?
No, because he would think that would stir the pot. He really would. He's I don't know. He's just not an average person. He was a wonderful person, but he would not want to stir my pot. He would not want to make me think about him. He wouldn't want to make me...
Well, what's wrong with thinking about him?
He just wouldn't want it. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it.
I know,
you could say that to him, but I'm telling you, he would feel this way. I'm not saying I feel this way.
I know.
He would feel this way. It's just how he was. He would think that was nonsensical to bother somebody like that. It would bother him so bad if somebody would bother somebody like that. He would never. I'm telling you.
My dad did not believe in anything, and I wish my dad would reach out, but I know if he could, he wouldn't, because he would want to believe that he's right and there's no ghosts. He wouldn't reach out to me.
I don't know if my dad believed in ghosts or not, but he was like...
I just wonder...
Well, and when you're done, I have a good story about that. Remind me.
Oh, it was just a thought. I was just going to say, I wonder if when we pass on... I mean, I know some interactions we get that people are like they were when they're alive, but we don't really know what it's like. Like, maybe his thoughts would be different now that he's got, a greater understanding of things, or...
Nah, anything, it's like, anything is possible, but I feel strongly that he wouldn't.
Yeah.
It would have to be something else.
So now back to the cleansing.
Okay.
So I feel that if you cleanse anything that's here to communicate to you or to support you or is a friendly ghost, it's not going to do anything to them.
Kelly's like the cleansing specialist of our team.
But, And I know you said your mom lived here, but you've moved into a new house. It's a new environment. It's your house. There's nothing wrong with just cleansing it to say, this is now my space. If you're of love and light, you can stay here. And if you're not, you need to move on.
That is true.
So remind me next time and I'll bring all my kit.
I'm actually... Oh, yeah, that's true. We could just have you do it. Because I've never done it.
Well, I would have you do
Maybe
it
you
and
could
help
teach
you.
me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, also, if you have a lot of railroad ties, can I have a couple?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Because I know you said you had like a bucket.
Yeah.
What are those for?
The iron.
Yeah, it's iron, and we like seal properties. Put a protection around you. I have it around my house. If there's cases we go on that are particular, I'll bring them and
I just
ask
feel like
them. Yeah.
if we're gonna cleanse it, I might as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.